Hello, English students. Mrs. Grant here. I hope this video finds you well and happy Friday. Yesterday, I hope you enjoyed your TED Talk that gave you a little insight into poetry and what poetry is and what poetry means. Because we're going to, in the next week or so, we're going to be diving into a little bit of poetry here towards the end of our trimester. Today, we are going to be looking at some poetry terms, poetry devices. These terms kind of overlap with literary devices as well. Some of these things can be considered a lit device, and some of them are mainly just for poetry. So there's a little overlap in that as we went through a lot of literary devices at the beginning of the trimester, and now we're going to shift gears and go into some poetry and some poetry devices, poetry terms. So today's assignment is, as you can kind of see, your task for today, or you're going to watch this video. So you're doing that. Great job. And then you're going to open the attachment that is kind of a PDF of a variety of poetry terms. So it'll be right here. You can see that we have a bunch of different poetic terms, devices on here that you are going to go through. So now don't panic. You're not going to be quizzed on all of these. This is just a good resource for you as we go through, as we're annotating poems, as we're doing TPCast. You can use this document as a reference for you as you're doing that work. So, what we're going to do with this document today, before we get started with any poems, is that you are going to go through, you're going to read each of those terms, and you're going to either mark each term, and you can do this on like scratch paper if you want to print that out and do it right on there, if you want to just do it on a document online. This is not something you're going to turn in, but this is something that you're going to use for kind of your assignment today, but you're not going to turn in the marking of this document. So you can kind of keep that wherever you want. So for each term, you are going to note either A, B, or C. And as you can kind of see what each of those mean. So if you look at that word and you know it and you feel like I could teach it to the class, I know it so well, then you would mark it with an A. So that is a term that you look, you read, and you think I could teach it to the class. So I'm going to mark it with an A. Now, if I look at the term and I think I've heard of that term before, but I'm not 100% confident with the definition or coming up with examples, so I don't feel confident enough to teach it to the class, but I have some references related to that term, then I would put a B. And then the last one is C, and that is what? Like you've either never heard of that poetry term, you have no idea what it means, it's just something that you have no knowledge of. So that would be C. Okay, so each of those terms, I'm going to open this up again just so you can see it. So this is your PDF. You're going to open this up and you're going to go through these words, and you're going to either mark it with an A, B, or a C. This is for your own, notes. This is, you're not turning that part in. So then once you've gone through each of those terms and you've read them and you figure out where your comfort level is with those, then what you're going to do is you're going to find one of those terms that falls in the B or the C category. So don't pick a term that you read and you think I could teach that to the class right now. We want you to kind of open your knowledge of poetic terms. So pick something that you actually don't have a ton of knowledge with, so you can do a little research on it and learn a little bit more about it. So once you've picked your term that falls under your B or C category, then what you're going to do, just right on a Google Doc, is you're going to do kind of the following. You're going to write that term down. You're going to write a definition of that term. That definition can be dictionary style, or it can be in your own words. Sometimes I suggest that you do it in your own words because that's how you're going to actually remember what that term means. But it can be either a dictionary type definition style or in your own words. And then the third thing that you're going to do is you're going to give an example of that poetry term from something in real life, something you've seen in society, something you've seen online, anything. Basically, just give an example of that poetry term being used in something. So the term could be something that you found online. It could be in an actual poem that you've read. It could be from a story in real life. Research it. As I kind of put on there, this is kind of like an open book assignment. Feel free to research that term, learn about that term, put yourself out there about that, and then just kind of you'll turn that in on a doc right on Google Classroom. All right. So have fun, be creative with this. This is something where you're supposed to just kind of open up your mind to some different poetry terms that you've never heard of before. If you need help, don't forget to always reach out. That's what we are here for. So good luck and have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend.